Friends, it's a proud privilege for me now to welcome Mr. Kamal Bali, President and MD Volvo Group India, for his address on transformation of manufacturing in India. Before that, I would like to briefly introduce Mr. Bali. Mr. Bali is an alumnus of IIT Roorkee and has had an illustrious career spanning 40 years, largely in automotive and engineering industry. In fact, friends, in December 2019, he has been knighted and awarded one of Sweden's highest honor in the Royal Order of Polar Star Commander for his untiring support to the Swedish commerce and industry in India. Can we have a round of applause for that? Congratulations, Mr. Bali. Mr. Bali is on the governing board of several institutions and industry and has also been the past chairman of CII Karnataka chapter. A pleasure and honor to have you with us, Mr. Bali, and we look forward to your address. And let's welcome Mr. Bali with a round of applause, friends.
Thank you, Rajesh, for that very generous introduction. Good morning, friends. Excellency Mr. Achim Burkhardt, the Honorable Consul General of Germany in Bangalore, Mr. Rajesh Nath, the Managing Director of VDMA India, Mr. Ulrich Ackermann, the Managing Director of VDMA Frankfurt, distinguished friends from the industry and from this fraternity of mechanical engineers. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. In fact, this is my first in public appearance in 550 days. So that shows the significance of this very important VDMA session and the VDMA summit. And I'm actually, for the last half an hour I've been around, I'm feeling a lot better. I think the real world is much better than the virtual world. There's no doubt about it. So, friends, the world, including India, to my mind, is at the most defining crossroads of change today. At one level, we have the continuing post-pandemic human and humanity challenges on top of the potential consequences of climate change, inequitable global growth, polluting and congested cities, aggressive and protectionist geopolitics, and resource scarcity. That's on one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, we are being presented with boundless opportunities unheard of before, arising from the new and emerging technologies such as the AI, the machine learning, cloud, 5G, and the pervasive connectivity and the steady development of alternate energy carriers. And that's, I think, the key thing today. But the cherry on the cake seems to be the possibilities of getting connected. Clearly, we are all living in a paradoxical world, to say the least, with a two-speed engine. One speed engine on the other side and the other speed engine really bringing the possibilities of changes. I also completely echo what Rajesh talked about in terms of the Indian economy bouncing back, and the high frequency indicators over the last several months are very, very encouraging. In fact, they seem to be very strong and also sustainable in the short to medium run. So I think that's the Indian macroeconomic parameters are very, very strong today. I don't think I have seen such strength in the parameters in a long, long time. But manufacturing has been, for some reason in India, always punching below its weight. If you look at our manufacturing, contribution of our manufacturing in our GDP, it has been around 15 to 17% over the last 20 years, over 2 decades. The needle hasn't moved. Subsequent governments have tried to set up the challenge to 25% of GDP as manufacturing, but needle hasn't moved at all. We have been 15 to 17. We've been just moving between these two numbers, 15 to 17%. And I think this has to change. And I think you cannot ask for a better opportunity. I'll come to that in a moment from now. So we need to really look at the transformation of manufacturing, not only because it's very, very important for India, it's very important for employment generation. We have 100 million boys and girls coming into the labor market in the next 10 years. We need to provide, and there is no other area which can provide this kind of employment than manufacturing, because manufacturing has a multiplier effect. One job in manufacturing leads to 2.5 jobs in services. And if you look at another thing which is happening very, very clearly today, is a huge convergence of manufacturing, technology and services. And there are going to be very blurred lines going forward. 10 years from now, you will not be able to distinguish whether you are from the manufacturing sector or you are from the services, because the lines are going to be very, very blurred, and I think one will transcend into the other. So I think that's going to be the key, and I think that's something which we need to really talk about. A key achievement over the last, I would say, few years, I think I must compliment the government, has been in really making ease of doing business, speed of doing business, cost of doing business a reality. I think we have started on the right journey. Whether it is the GST, I think the transition of GST was painful, but today we can see the results of that exercise we have done. The recently announced the PLI scheme, I think this can be a game changer. This is the first time true biggie which we can get. And if we can get some big, large anchor investors into India, I think the ball game can completely change. And I am very, very positive and bullish on some of these changes. And so many other things which have happened, whether it is the labor laws, 44 different laws getting clubbed into 4 codes. I think that's very important. A lot of things happening on the land side, but a lot of stuff has to happen on the state government side. I think, so we need to really look at some of these things which are happening. But to my mind, one thing is very important, we have to understand from countries like Germany, Japan, Korea. If you look at all these countries, for the last 30 to 50 years, it is manufacturing which has anchored these countries. India can be no different. We have jumped from agriculture to services in a big way. We have skipped the manufacturing piece in the right earnest. I think that is the missing link. And I think now we are realizing that, and with the kind of transformation which is happening today, I'm sure this is bound to change. So, if I were to look at 5 reasons why manufacturing in India needs to transform, I think first, the B2B customers increasingly are seeking resilience in supply chains and the consequent need for digital transformation. The supply chain has to be visible along the entire value chain. And I think this is one major reason, because after what's happened in the pandemic, I think people want more transparency, people want visibility, and I think that's going to be the key. So that's the first thing we can't run away from. Second, and the most interesting point which I want to make today, is the rebalancing of global value chains. And this is happening in reality. I'll take a minute on this. If you look at the entire global manufacturing system, we produce about $15 trillion of merchandise or manufactured goods around the world. $15 trillion, give and take some here and there. I'm just taking an average number. Out of which one country accounts for almost 30% of this. 30%. And US accounts for about 17%. So between 2 countries, almost 50% of manufacturing is taken care of, $7.5 trillion. India accounts for about $400 billion or $0.4 trillion out of this, which is almost 3% share versus another country which has 30% share. This is not going to happen anymore. This is changing. About $4.5 to $5 trillion out of this $15 trillion is getting rebalanced over the next 4 to 4.5 years. And we can see it's happening in many areas already, but these are confirmed numbers. It's a one country plus one model which is happening in a dramatic way, and India stands the best chance. But this will not come on a platter. This will not come on a platter. Just a 10% shift, if I were to say, will take double India's manufacturing output from $400 billion to $800 billion. And a 20% shift, which is not very big in the new supply in a value chain rebalancing, will take India to $1.2 trillion in manufacturing. And that is what will take you to 25% of your GDP. So friends, that's the key. And this is the moment which we have to really catch on to and not let it pass. And this will happen not by you and I alone. It will happen to be each one of us, all stakeholders in the system, whether it is the technology people, whether it is the government on regulations and policies, whether it is the banking system to support, to handhold the MSMEs of India. That's another weak link in our system. While MSMEs account for almost 95% of our manufacturing, they are very fragile and they have very small scale. And I think we need to change them. We need to give that. Almost 95% of MSMEs are under 10 people companies. They don't have the scale. They don't have the capability on their own to transition to Industry 4.0 or to digital transformation on their own. But they are very enterprising. They don't lack in terms of capabilities, intrinsic capabilities. But when it comes to financial issues and others, they need support. So I think that's the second piece which we really need to work on. The third reason why we need to really transform is that the sustainability, which used to be lip service so far, is becoming a reality. You will not be able to sell a pin 5 years from now if you do not tick on the boxes of holistic sustainability. So we need to change, we have to understand and embrace that it is no more lip service, it is reality. So whatever you do has to tick 3 boxes. It has to be socially inclusive, which means gender equity. People are going to ask you if you have to export. What is the gender ratio in your company? If you say only 10% women, they will say thank you very much. The second box need to be ticked is environment, is climate. What is your carbon emission level? What is your GH? You will have to really work with science-based targets. So that's the secondary thing. And third, of course, is you have to be ethically clean, very important. ESG is taking a big thing. And of course, you have to be economically efficient. If you're not efficient, nobody is going to buy. So you have to be good at what you supply. You have to have gender equity, you have inclusive growth, and you will have to be very clear on the environment. Our productivity levels are low, which means we need to embrace new technologies. And I think, and government is doing a lot of work in there. They have started, Niti Aayog has started an initiative on Samarth, which is again a very interesting one. And I must compliment the government of really understanding this big picture on manufacturing. I think they know that they have been not able to make any dent to move the needle in the last 20 years. So they have to do something substantial. And whether it is the cost of capital, the cost of borrowings, the cost of power, all the hidden costs, and GST has to be further reformed by getting petroleum and other things in. Otherwise, that becomes a cascading of cost into the manufacturing system. So I think that's the third piece. Of course, Industry 4.0, I don't want to talk on that. I don't want to talk on a technical subject. You all know much better on how we need to transition to Industry 4.0, but I think digitalization and integration of vertical and horizontal value chains is becoming a reality. The faster we embrace those, better it is for us. Digitalization of product and service offerings is also going to be the key. So I think that's something which. Finally, how can manufacturing be transformed in India? I have just a few words there. I'm very clear that we have a very clear framework. I think the country has understood the clear framework. It has got 3 pillars. The first is domestic ecosystem. The second pillar is firm level competitiveness. And the third pillar is global ecosystem. So when it comes to domestic ecosystem, which are the agencies which has to work? The state government, the district level government, the central government, they all have to work together to ensure that Make in India is a reality Ease of doing business, speed of doing business, cost of doing business is a reality. Cost of capital has to be not more than 5 to 6%. All of those things have to happen. So I think creating a domestic ecosystem of partnerships, of plug and play land, where we can just go and set up, because an industrialist may not be master at really buying land and creating a building. He or she can just simply go ready with the technology and start to produce. And that is what we need to do. So that domestic ecosystem and a culture of, if somebody wants to start manufacturing, he or she should be able to do within the next 90 days. That should be the way. They should simply bring the technology and the machines and get started. So I think that's the one. The second is, and of course, various costs to be done. The firm level competitiveness is very, very critical. How do we train? How do we change to people centricity? We will have to shift from the way we were handling our people. The HR policies which typically were there, they will have to be thrown outside the window. We will have to understand, empathize with people. The leadership, people must respect their leaders. I think the new culture shift has to come in if you really want to. You cannot say that this is a worker and I am the shop floor manager. That hierarchies have to be thrown out of the window. Everybody is doing a job. That's it. You have a role to play. So I think you will have to understand this. So I think that's something very, very critical. So firm level competitiveness, whole set of things are there. I can share with Rajesh all the details which we have. And the third, and of course, build your own brand so that you can do that. And finally is the global ecosystem where central government has to play. Market access opportunities. Speaking with Germany, speaking with Sweden, getting those foreign trade agreements, market access, building brand India at a global level. So if somebody wants to say made in India, they should look up to it. It should not go made in India. So I think that association with brand India, only all of us, our products will do, but our government, central government has to do at a market access and building brand India. So I think these are some of the things. Of course, we have several paradoxes. I think when it comes to Industry 4.0 and others, I think the first paradox is we need to provide millions of jobs each month. Hence, the need for greater labor intensity is something which we have as a country. And the need to be globally competitive to have greater pie of the global investments is another one. Then the second paradox is we have large manufacturing setups which are already deploying heavy dose of automation and robotics catering to global. And at the other end, 90% of our large ecosystem of MSMEs is very weak. They are far away from adopting Industry 4.0 because of scale, size and impact. So I think that's something which we need to do. We need to really upskill and really help the MSMEs. But having said that, I want to really I would like to supplement my closing words with an inspiring quote from Muriel Strode, who said, "Do not follow where the path may lead. Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail behind." And I think all of us sitting in this room are competent and capable of doing it. I think this completely resonates with me, because I think what Mr. Muriel Strode is saying is, get out of your comfort zones to find, create and define new possibilities. And I think that's the key. And that's each one of us has the responsibility of doing that, for not only for us, for the society at large and for the country. And I think we need to, and that is the source and beginning of innovation, entrepreneurship and leadership. Friends, our world of commerce and entrepreneurship has been going through major shifts even before the pandemic. In fact, Rajesh talked about VUCA world, which is a phenomena that is marked by volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. But I feel that we can change VUCA. We can reverse the VUCA to vision, understanding, clarity and agility. If you turn around the VUCA, instead of volatility, we can call it vision. Instead of uncertainty, we can call it understanding. Instead of complexity, we can call clarity. And instead of ambiguity, we can call it agility. I think we can really do that, and that's the kind of attitude we need. Clearly, the resultant new normal, what I see, is heavily biased towards 5 takeaways finally. Number 1, going forward, forging new partnerships and collaborations. Number 2, embracing digital transformation. Number 3, ushering in a culture of employee centricity, trust and respect. Number 4, driving holistic sustainability that ticks the boxes of society, environment and efficiency. And finally, reimagining our purpose in this world. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Have a good conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamal Bali, for an excellent address and highlighting, I think, the necessity and the important role that manufacturing can play. And you rightly pointed out some of the limitations we have in India. And also, this was the new definition of VUCA. I've read various definitions, but I think this was really nice. Vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. So thank you so much, Mr. Bali, for this address. And I'm sure I would request if you could share your address. We would like to circulate it among the members also. Thank you. Friends, Honorable Minister, Mr. Murugesh Nirani could not join us today. He had to fly out. But he has sent us a message, which we would now like to play the message from Honorable Minister.
All of you, Ellarigu Namaskara, Mr. Achin Burkard, Mr. Kamal Bali, Mr. Rajesh Nath, and ladies and gentlemen. Karnataka is home to several large organizations like Bosch, Siemens, Mercedes-Benz, Continental, etc. There are around 200 European German companies, mechanical engineering companies in Karnataka, and they are the members of the German Engineering Federation, PDMA. Karnataka is a leader in India technology sector, both in terms of investment and exports. Karnataka stands 4th in merchandise exports in the national export basket, and the exports from the state stood around euro 12.5 billion in 2019-20, which is 5.2% of India's total exports. Karnataka, which is home to India's first SEZ, Electron City, and several IT parks, is now ready with India's first integrated machine tool park. Karnataka has an outstanding industrial ecosystem for all major industries, and the government is also organizing the Invest in Karnataka Summit in November 2022. Karnataka is a Silicon Valley of India. Karnataka is home to 400 plus MNCs with global R&D centers. Bangalore alone produces 60% of total value of machine tools manufactured in India. Karnataka is the second highest producer of special purpose and heavy electrical machinery in India. Karnataka is the second largest chip design hub in the country. Karnataka is the largest software export in India. Karnataka has 20,000 technology-based startups, including 6,000 product startups by 2020, 6 lakh direct and 12 lakh indirect new jobs in the sector. I am inviting all of you, our Udyamiyagu Udyoganedu. Instead of employee should be employer. Program is on 11th and 12th is Kaigarika Adalat. Please come and give suggestion. Thanking you. Namaskara. Jai Hind. Jai Karnataka.